So welcome to a special edition of Seen and Solved, our best of 2025 episode. This year brought smart problem solving, sharp process control, and real wins on the shop floor. From wastewater breakthroughs to black oxide consistency and semiconductor purity, we'll revisit some moments that delivered practical takeaways you can use right away. So let's get started.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
We begin with Jeremy Morgan and Robin Deal as they dug into what operators really need, how licensing differs from state to state, which courses and organizations really matter, and where to get credible help fast.
When owners and whoever is responsible, they're thrown into this position 9 times out of 10 with little to no knowledge around chemical wastewater treatment. Either they came from the plating line, they came from maintenance management, they came from the lab, so they know how to run certain chemical tests. But then they're thrown in the deep end of the pool and put in charge. They learn by trial and error.
Right.
And not to knock that. You learn so much when you get your hands wet, you get mud on your boots, you have a pump blow up in your face. You learn what not to do. But it also makes you very defensive about what you are doing. We want to bring to light that there is education out there for metal finishing. I tell people, when you look at the wastewater treatment pie, the bulk of it is focused on municipal wastewater treatment, right? Because that's our communities, that's our environment health. Then you have oil and gas, you have mining, you have food and drink, beverage, you have pulp and paper, agriculture. Metal finishing is only about 2% of the knowledge bank on how we waste treat water. But we're the ones that get fingers pointed at. We're bad for the environment. We're contaminating the environment. We're doing all these bad things when we're such a small slice of the overall pie.
Next, in a 3-episode series, Randy DeSano walked us through real shop fixes from cleaning that sabotage of salt spray to trichrome lines failing from contamination and worn anodes, to even getting copper alloys to hold a deposit with bright dips and micro etches.
One particular story that I can share with you is failing salt spray, corrosion resistance. They're plating alkaline zinc on a rack line on forgings, and they're failing salt spray. They're not accomplishing their goals that way. Parts look great. Adhesion is fine. Cosmetically look good. We get involved in finding out why. In this case, it was actually a preparation issue. And these are heat-treated forgings. So you get a lot of heat-treat scale in the nooks and crannies. And it took time to explain to the customer that, believe it or not, it's a cleaning issue. And that's hard to understand when, at the end of the line, the work looks fine, the adhesion's good.
Jeff Davis stopped by to map the rule changes and timelines from ECEL versus PEL and laid out practical paths from legacy solvents to modified alcohols, fluorinated options, and aqueous systems.
So what we saw in the last couple of years was the EPA putting out regulations related to unreasonable risk to human health. So Not necessarily the environment, but to human exposure and human health is what they were taking the regulatory stance. So what they have done is they've posed what they call ECEL or ECHLs, which is existing chemical exposure limits, which are different than OSHA's permissible exposure limits. So I think this is a whole new area that we're delving into, where the ECHLs, as EPA calls them, are much more stringent than any of the OSHA's PELs or permissible exposure limits. So what we see now is last May, EPA came out and had a final ruling on methylene chloride for vapor degreasing. And they said it will be prohibited for use. And I think the date right now is by April 2026 for most industrial applications. And that extends out probably for, I think, till 2029 for any Department of Defense or NASA or military applications.
Robin Deal and Brooks Bagnowski offered a plain English look at what's showing up in real tests and why faster on-site detection changes the compliance game.
Why is it so important to get results back
in a day when you're in there?
There just hasn't been enough infrastructure within the United States. The regulations have changed every couple of years. They've incorporated more PFAS or more tests, and there's more people that have then had to require testing. The largest amount of projects are being done in the United States as well regarding PFAS. So there's a huge load on the system to be able to test for PFAS. Labs are receiving hundreds, even thousands of samples a day coming from all over the United States. Canada is slow in following suit behind the US, but then Australia and Europe have their own issues, but they're turning around tests relatively quickly there.
Dan Curtin broke down lubricants, zinc phosphate, and bath life to reduce tool wear and increase throughput.
One of my larger consumers, they'll take a 2-foot tube with a 1/2-inch wall thickness, and they'll draw it out to 4 feet long with a 1/4-inch wall. So it's quite a drastic extrusion, and it requires every portion of the stearate soap in order to do that. And this customer has very stringent values that we put on how contaminated our sodium stearate lubricant bath can be. We went to that water source where we were making up those soap baths. What we found was we could increase the bath life by 25% by simply using reverse osmosis water for making that bath up. By simply eliminating the amount of calcium and iron that was coming in the water source, we extended the bath life by 25%. When you're dumping a bath every 10 days because of the stringent restrictions on the extrusion itself, and you take it up 25%, we've gained 4 more operational days per month that we can be running product through that line, and it really adds up.
Rob Augello discussed parts per billion purity, tight logistics, and why AI and EV demand raise the bar for high purity chemistries. Can you share with us an example of when, you go, Hubbard-Hall really particularly solved a problem for a customer that maybe a competitor couldn't address?
Yeah, I could think of one. We had a customer who had a location where they were buying about, say, 30 to 40 different products from multiple suppliers, say 12 to 14 different suppliers. Individual purchase orders for what they need. They need to carry 30 to 40 days worth of inventory of each product. They have, multiple invoices, multiple deliveries happening each week from all these different suppliers. It's creating a lot of headaches, a lot of bottlenecks, a lot of excess inventory. And so what we deployed is a vendor managed inventory for them. And so this means that we take full control of their supply chain, and we manage all of the inventory levels. We deliver to them once per week with everything that they need for that week. And we carry all of that inventory so that they don't have to. That means their spaces now can be used for their core competencies. That means that there's a drastic number in the number of purchase orders, number of invoices, the number of deliveries. So there's a lot of operational gains that they experience now with everything being consolidated and managed by us.
Jeremy Morgan and Robin Deal returned with a case study of how a chelated pickle bath went from 30 days and $30,000 per cycle to under a week and under $10,000.
A lot of times it is trial and error, but there is a little bit of a method to the madness. So we knew we had a cost cap on this one. So that being said, we wanted to make sure that the selected coagulant was going to fit within those constraints. So normally we don't particularly like to take that route, but we always want to pick the best possible chemistry, not necessarily the cheapest chemistry. But knowing under these circumstances that we had a cost cap, we wanted to make sure that the primary coagulant that was doing the majority of the heavy lifting was going to be a more economical choice. So that was a little bit of the driver for it, but that also led us to the dual coagulant package, where we found that it was great to use the more economical coagulant, but we needed a little nicer, a little more expensive product to go along with it to get the job done. So, we obviously want to do the best that we can for our customers. And sometimes that does involve that cost cap, but at the end of the day, we were able to successfully get to a point where we had great treatability, but still fit within those cost constraints.
We talked with Tim Large and Mike Kohlberg to get an insight into the behind-the-scenes work that keeps customers up and running, planning, barcoding, and real-time coordination for quality and on-time delivery.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a customer call in and they was fixing to shut down our line. So we were big on heat treat salts and they needed 5 truckloads of heat treat salt in 5 days. We had to run 2 shifts here. So 2 shifts worked about 3 days at trying to get this out to our customer to keep their line up and running.
So did you have the raw materials there already, or did you have to go out and source those as well?
We had enough for 3 truckloads. So our purchasing group had to reach out and get enough to make the last 2 truckloads.
Wow. And you're able to get all of those in just 5 days, right?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Took the order on Friday afternoon, and we had it shipped out Thursday morning.
Eric Sirland and Kevin O'Brien discussed Hubbard-Hall's own Z1500 versus TCJ50 products, coating weights, and also the story behind the crown jewel.
Well, the TCJ50, the benefit it has is that it's tolerant to high iron, and the Z1500 is not. If we get over 1% iron, we could have some issues. So most of our customers, not most, pretty much all of them, use live steam heat, which is a natural decant that keeps that iron below 1%. We can, on the other side of this, and I don't know if we can do this with the TCJ or not, we can run that phosphate at half the concentrations of our competitors and still maintain coating rate. So that would be the benefit of it. But if we're running over 1% iron, we could have some issues.
Yeah, the TCJ operates very well across the entire iron spectrum. So from 1 point of iron, and as the bath increases, it can operate up to 20 points of iron and still produce consistent coating weights. Typically what we'll see from our competitors, as the iron increases, the coating weight or the performance of the product decreases. The TCJ50 is designed to produce a straight line in terms of coating weights and have that consistency.
Switching gears, we chatted with Hubbard-Hall's customer experience team. 4 locations, but 1 standard: empathy, transparency, and empowered problem solving that turns orders into partnerships. What would be one thing you'd want them to know about what you all do and how you're trying to do it that maybe they don't understand, but something that you wish a lot of people who were on the other end of the call really understood?
The dedication behind the scenes. I think we all are just extremely dedicated from, upper management down to lower, level, the dedication that we all have. And we truly live every day trying to exceed our customers' expectations.
When we have like a customer issue that, even though they're only talking to me and I'm, just customer experience manager, I want to assure them that the company takes it very seriously when there's a problem or, especially if, it's affected somebody's production or, their quality. Sometimes when a customer does have like an RMA or something, a quality issue come up, I do like to reiterate to them that the whole company is behind them and, it is a problem that will be addressed and the whole company is going to know about it. So that's something that I think that I would like the customers to know is how serious we take quality, safety, and being their number one supplier.
Aaron Mambrino and Bill Greider checked in with their take on lean thinking. 50 improvements in a matter of months, fewer customer headaches, and empowered teams.
Even at the CEO level of the organization, so sharing out the intent of lean, why lean is important to us. It fits into our values here at Hubbard-Hall of being better, being reliable for our customers. And we started right away with Bill conducting trainings on an A3 process. So really a Kaizen process here that would help them to improve their process, make their everyday work more efficient.
We handed out an index card to every employee asking, if you own the company, what's the one change you'd make in your job right now? And every single, they responded, put their name on it. And it's never self-serving. It's never selfish. It's always something that slows them down, gets them in the way, frustrates them. We always start with Kaizen, and then we can get into the tools and we can get into some other aspects of lean, but getting everybody engaged. And we got quite a healthy number.
As supplier support in the industry continues to shrink, Scott Papps explained how proactive service, remote monitoring, and smarter tools keep shops competitive. So let's talk about Hubbard-Hall for a bit. How are you all doing things a little differently? Adapting to the changing demands that a lot of shops may be asking for. How are you all adapting to that?
Consolidation, they see people pulling back, but we're actually doing just the opposite. While others are pulling back, we're investing, but it may look different to the customer in that, currently, and we're not cutting back, 32% of Hubbard-Hall's employees are either tech service or sales. And we don't see that, changing. But how we interact with our customers, this is where we're investing in. So it could be different, where they may have had a tech person or a salesperson coming in weekly. Well, we're challenging that, not to give you less, but our customers are all saying, we want you to be more responsive, faster. Well, now we're looking at, digital tools. We're looking at working on a Hubbard-Hall AI knowledge base that would be available 24/7, and you'll get, and frankly, the best answer, more consistent answers, where depending upon very often who you spoke to at Hubbard-Hall, you may have gotten 3 good answers, but they were different and it left you confused. Well, now we'll be more consistent in our reply and quicker. We're not eliminating the human, but you'd get immediate results based on your history, and the people are still there if you need a deeper dive.
Wrapping up season 3, marketing director Shelley Lucis took us on a journey inside a lean marketing engine. 3 clear goals, creatives that work, and staying visible in an AI-driven world.
When I was at a trade show just in April, they're like, Hubbard-Hall is everywhere. And so that was one of my big things, is to create that brand awareness, to showcase our competitive advantage with our experts and make sure that we are at the places where our customers are, and to make sure that we're that recognizable name brand of, we have the products that are going to help you reduce your chemistry cost, your chemical consumption, and your complexity. For Hubbard-Hall, we focus on better results with less chemistry. And for us, that means that we are going to go in and we're going to problem solve tank side with our customers to ensure that all of those points are hit and that they're continually coming back to us as their trusted advisors.
Eric Sarlin joined us to focus on one-step cleaner coaters that simplify pre-treatment, even on mixed metals, and still meet challenging salt spray demands.
Quite honestly, there are no limitations with this type of product. In terms of marketplace, we've seen it in the automotive industry, metal fabrication industry, even the medical industry. We've done race cars with it and heavy equipment. So there really are no limitations. I think where this type of product shines in industry is where someone's maybe limited in terms of footprint, where they don't have the capabilities to set up a big line within their plant, or they have a mix of products where it's not feasible to set up a 3 or 5 stage system. So this technology has come a long way to help those processors get the kind of quality that you would normally get in a 3 or 5 stage system.
Robin Deal returned with answers to some big questions. What's in the wastewater? Why carbon filtration is today's lever? And where PFAS destruction technology is headed.
About a year ago, we set out with a vision in mind of how do chrome platers address the PFAS compounds in their wastewater, and how can they do it economically and immediately with technology that we have now. So we reached out to numerous chrome plating shops across the country, and we sampled their water to see just what was in their water now. And we found 11 compounds consistently showed up across all of those shops that we tested. And we looked at different removal techniques for treating wastewater that's in use right now. So we looked at traditional hydroxide precipitation. We looked at microfiltration. We looked at carbon filtration, and we looked at shops that are actually doing evaporation followed by distillation to recover their water for reuse.
Jason Potts shared insight into how Hubbard-Hall's PL930 simplified cleaning, doubled line speed, and eliminated the need for constant boosters on powder line.
So the PL 918 is what we originally put in. That's one of our top of the line soak spray cleaners, and we thought, well, this is going to be easy. You know, we put this cleaner in. It's a stock product. It's priced well, and we put it in. It worked. And what happened is that we started to see the same thing they saw with the current cleaner. They had to add, we had to add a booster to it. Again, it's not ideal to do that. So what we did was, all right, let's go back to the drawing board. And we had fortunately just put in our particle pre-treat line in our Inman, South Carolina facility.
Oh, so your pilot line you've got down there, right?
So what we were able to do was take small parts off of that, the large parts, and mimic the line speed, the parts, and then try other cleaners at our facility, before we didn't want to throw another cleaner in there right away. We want to make sure it's going to work. So Mike Valenti and his team ended up trying several different cleaners. Come to find out, none of those cleaners really worked. And then Michael did a great job and developed the Aqua East PL 930. That was the cleaner that showed the best cleaning abilities at that line speed with that particular part, and we were able to determine that by the pilot line.
Connor Callier nailed the fundamentals: racking and surface prep, then tight control of time, temperature, and concentration, plus smart post-treat choices that protect the finish. What are some of the more common mistakes that you see, just in general? Maybe list 2 or 3 that people make with their conversion coatings.
Top 3 would probably be, first would be, surface preparation. So making sure that surface is clean and ready. Are they using the right products to get the cleaning done correctly? Are they maintaining that cleaning bath, or does the part that they're working with need some sort of activation step or acid step prior to actually going into the conversion coating? That's a common mistake or issue that we see with a lot of different customers. Second probably would be, are they maintaining their line in the right conditions? A lot of times they may be using the right product, they're just not using it the right way or in an optimal way for them to be able to achieve the best results that they need for their part or product. And lastly would probably be within the post-treatment, not thinking enough about what sort of post-treatment they need to apply. Are they needing certain performance out of the part once it has the coating put on it? Do they need a certain look that they're going for, or are they set up in a way to apply the right corrosion protection for that sort of part in order to, have a successful operation?
In this special episode, we celebrated Jeff Davis and a career's worth of lessons, culture, and mentorship from his 42 years at Hubbard-Hall.
If this company was a cocktail, which one would it be, Jeffrey?
Well, I would say it just happens to be one that's right next to me, an old fashioned. Only because you can't have survived 6 generations, 175 or 176 years now, without really having a foot in both locations in the past and the present, and then the future obviously is critically important. I think Hubbard-Hall has really defined itself by some old-fashioned values and always looking to the future, trying to, whether it's the digital age or whether it's how do we improve the process, and artificial intelligence will make us better, but it's not just artificial intelligence for the sake of new technology. It's how it's going to make us better and help us improve our processes.
Next, we welcome Bill Blanchette and Tyler Thomas of Sequel and Hubbard-Hall's own Connor Callier for a discussion on pairing the right equipment with the right chemistry. Let's talk results here. So what were some of the biggest improvements that this manufacturer saw after these changes were made by you all?
Some of the rejects rates that they were seeing coming in from the outside were upwards of 30 to 40%. And so with the advent of putting in their own lines and with us engineering them correctly, and with Hubbard-Hall's excellent chemistries, in some of these places, they can go weeks, months without any rejects at all. And so, the right fixturing, we help the customers with that. Rinsing, and like Connor mentioned, the pre-treatment side of it, getting everything dialed in. So we've had excellent success, and all of the lines that we have put in are still running today and operating exceptionally.
Stepping into the world of electroless nickel, Travis Hilton shared his expertise on cleaning, stripping, and the overlook steps that stabilize EN baths. How important is that to have these people that work in these facilities know exactly what they're doing and getting set up?
Yeah, it's the most important thing in the world, because it can, if they're not doing it correctly, it'll have to quarter the bath life, and then you're spending significantly more on product and not getting the desirable results. More stuff gets kicked back from QC, and then everything spirals from there.
And downtime with that line while you're trying to get it fixed and those type of things, which is money they'll never get back. And that's what I hear from a lot of shop owners when they have problems like this. They can never get that money back. It's gone. Out in the field, what are you seeing, and what have you seen that share a problem that you saw, and how did you fix it when it came to getting the tank set up properly?
Yeah, I ran into a shop that they were using town water for their rinsing steps, assuming that it was fine. And it normally is, but in this particular case, there were additives to that were leaving behind residual that was then mixing in with the DI water when they were going to make up the tank, and that was causing failures. When we attempted to rinse the whole thing with DI water, it worked perfectly. Using that to rinse a 300-gallon tank is more expensive for sure, but it is significantly less than having to remake the bath twice as often.
Bukalher Herdeyemi closed out 2025 with the theme Clean Before You Shine. Bukalher shows how cleaning control, rinsing discipline, and water quality pay off in plating pretreatment.
Pretreatment is the foundation of all plating process, right? I like to compare pretreatment as, painting a wall. You wouldn't want to paint a wall, on a wall that is, has grease, mud, dirt. You want to do your perp, you want to, pulp, like scrape, apply your coats, base, and everything before you actually, put the fine coat on it. So same way I see pretreatment, like comparing to painting a wall. Especially in plating, you want to make sure that, you have a clean base metal. You want to make sure that your parts are free of oil, smudge. You want to make sure that, you have the right addition. You want the proper addition and proper plating concentration to achieve, the success you want concerning whatever you're working on. So basically, pretreatment is our foundation and a vital fundamental foundation of plating. So without pretreatment, you're basically setting yourself up for a plating failure. In other words, so you might have the best chemistry, but if you don't have the proper and the adequate pretreatment, you're as well as starting off with no good.
Thank you for tuning into this special Best of 2025 episode. You can revisit full episodes for a deeper dive and find more resources at Hubbard-Hall.com. I'm your host, Tim Pennington, wishing you a very happy new year. We'll be back in 2026 with more Seen and Solved.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit Hubbard-Hall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.